and deeply. Wheel is next. Inhale, bend your two knees. Then place your feet slightly wider than hip width apart. Place your palms on the floor on either side of your ears. Inhale, press your feet and your hands down, lift up the hips. Breathing, lifting, and opening. You can see, again here, this wonderful back bend, lengthening and opening for her in this posture. She's pressing those feet down. Now I'm going to come and give an assist for Shaunna in this. Go and just grab my ankles. And as she presses her hands and feet down, now she can lift her hips even higher up in this. Breathing and lifting and opening, getting this wonderful opening for her spine. This assist makes it easier for her to use her hands to create more and more leverage, to create this powerful lift and opening in this wonderful back bend. Thank you, Shaunna. Slowly bring your body down. Open up your palms again, widen your collarbones, and integrate the openings from having just practiced fish and wheel. Ever wonder how it is that some of us are born super supple while the rest of us have to work hard for every shred of flexibility? Let's go to the computer and chat with our spine expert, chiropractor, martial arts and yoga instructor, Dr. Tom McFaddin. Hello, Dr. Tom. Can you help us debunk the #1 myth about yoga?
I think I can, Peter. Can you first tell me what exactly is the #1 myth about yoga?
That flexible people have some extraordinary advantage over the rest of us in doing yoga postures?
Peter, I have treated people with very supple spines, and that question often comes up. There's a few factors that come into play here. One is the ligaments that hold the joints together. For instance, the spine is a series of joints. It's designed to move. What allows that movement are ligaments, kind of like hinges on a door. Some ligaments have greater plasticity or ability to move than others. Good analogy is think of taffy. If the taffy's stiff and hard, it's not going to move well. If it's a little more softer and supple, it's going to allow that range of motion to occur in a greater range. Another factor that comes into play is the shape of the joints. In the spine, for instance, there's a right and a left joint in each vertebral segment. If those joints are shaped one way, it's going to allow, again, for a greater range. If it's shaped another way, it's going to allow for less of a range. The third thing would be, and it's a little more indirect, would be the length of muscles and tendons. It's not quite as crucial in the spine as it is in other joints, but that also influences a person's natural range. We have another factor which has to do more with lifestyle, and that would be how much muscular tension a person's carrying. Could be due to the type of work they do or the lifestyle they have, or even their emotions. These factors all come to play, some genetic and some, as I mentioned, lifestyle, and they're going to allow more or less range within the spine. It doesn't necessarily mean somebody's inflexible, it means they just simply can't move as far as somebody else.
Dr. Tom, can you explain how it is that one person can have a super supple spine, but at the same time have hips that are stiffer than the average Joe's? Or maybe a person can do a full-on split, but they have really tight shoulders. Can you explain this disparity to us?
Well, to answer that question, we have to talk about some of the factors that we just mentioned that create ability for some person to move more than somebody else. We were talking about the spine initially, and the factors that allow for greater range of motion in the spine may be different when it comes to something like the hip. The same person can have a lot of range in their shoulders and their spine and have limited range in their hip, once again because of those factors due to genetics, such as changes in the shape of the joints, the plasticity of the ligaments, and muscle tension or length of muscle and tendons. So you often find with many people that they'll say they're very flexible one way, but they're not flexible another way. It's not truly that they're not flexible, it's that their range of motion differs.
So, Dr. Tom, where do you come down? Are you a Gumby? Or are you a mere mortal like the rest of us?
Well, Peter, I'm definitely not a Gumby. I'm proud to say I'm more flexible now than I was in my 20s. It's principally because of adhering to a primary principle, and that is if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So you want to focus on taking your joints through their full range of motion. If I was to use the wrist, for example, the wrist can go forward and back, it can turn in and out, and it can go sideways. It's important that you move that joint in those directions every day. And of course, you look at each individual joint, and you want to be sure you're moving all those joints through their full range. The second thing is flexibility. Here, a good yoga practice will help you, particularly if your body is very warm, which you can create through doing a very dynamic yoga or through working out, say, in a hot room. The third thing is working on agility. Agility is where you're going to use many attributes like speed, coordination, timing, balance, flexibility, strength in the course of a single movement. A good example would be, say, hopping over something. If you work on all these three factors, you will keep your joints healthy and young.
Thank you, Dr. Tom. And we'll call you for our next episode called Stiff Dudes and Backbends, where we'll have questions that I hope you can clarify for us.
Okay, Peter, it was good talking to you, and remember the principle. If you don't use it, you'll lose it, so keep moving.
Building this core strength doesn't require doing pretzely contorted yoga postures. Shaunna is going to demonstrate this principle with the next two postures, tabletop stick and tabletop bow. While the first one is not a back bend, she's using her bone structure and her body mechanics to set up the back bend. Shaunna's also going to demonstrate what a collapsed back bend looks like and how to correct it. Let's take a look. Inhale, Shaunna, reach your left arm forward and your right leg back. Keep these hips nice and square. Can you see how our hips are at the same height? Why don't you lift this hip up, Shaunna, so we'd see how you wouldn't want to do it. Because if she did that, she might be able to get her leg higher, but this isn't really good alignment, so let's correct that. Lower that hip down, widen these collarbones, and lifting and opening here. Now inhale, Shaunna, reach back and grab your ankle. And kick your shin and your shoulder back and lift your sternum forward and up, gazing straight ahead. Breathing long and deeply, draw this thigh, kicking this shin back, draw the sternum forward and up, breathing long and deep, lengthening and opening. This is a big opening for her spine as well as the front of this right leg. Inhale, reach your left arm forward again, Shaunna, and extend that right leg back, keeping those hips nice and square, the collarbones nice and square, lengthening. And now lower your arm and your knee. And do the other side. Inhale, reach your right arm forward and your left leg back, looking straight down so that the crown of the head and the sit bones are lengthening. Her spine is lengthening here, and again the hips are nice and square. Inhale, reach back with your arm and grab your ankle. And kick this shin and shoulder back, drawing your sternum forward and up. Breathing long and deeply, you can see that she's getting a wonderful opening in her spine, as well as the front of this left leg. Kicking back, breathing long and deeply. Inhale, reach your right arm forward again, Shaunna, and your left leg back, coming into this tabletop stick, lengthening, and then bring your hand and knee down and find the floor.